Clover Fresh milk is the #1 milk brand in SA. Made with love by Clover.
Welcome back, South Africa. I hope you guys had a lovely weekend, because I definitely did. And today we are making a recipe that I have been meaning to make for quite a while. I love bread, and I always enjoy my bread with cheese. So I decided, why not put the cheese inside the bread? So today we're making a delicious cheesy bread using our Clover milk. I don't know if you're a lover of bread, but I know I am.
Oh, to me, I love bread. It is my favorite thing. A warm slice of bread with slathers of butter over it, melting into it. Let's get started. I want to see. Because
You're right.
It looks gorgeous.
Right, to get this recipe started, in my glass here, I've got some milk, which I've added lemon juice to. So the reason I've done that is this recipe calls for buttermilk, and I didn't have buttermilk. But I wasn't going to not make the recipe now because I don't have buttermilk. So I've put some lemon juice in there, because what that does is that it actually helps to activate the acid in that would actually help with the recipe I'm about to make now. So I've got some yeast going into this mix. I've got some sugar.
The sugar is the food for the yeast.
Yes, basically. So if I'm not a baker, I'm going to admit to that. I'm not a baker. But I do know that there's certain things that have to happen in order for your whatever you're baking to come out right. So whenever you're making bread, it is important to have the yeast in there to activate and all of that. So normally what we would do is we'd leave this to bloom for like 5 minutes just for the yeast to activate. But because we work our magic here on the show, I'm going to show everyone how it's actually done a lot quicker. So we've got our yeast mixture that's done here. And to this, I'm going to add 1 egg.
Is that to enrich the bread a bit?
You know, our bread has to be delicious. So all these flavors going into it, activate it, make it delicious. You can never go wrong without butter. With butter, I mean, everything tastes extra delicious with butter. And so I needed to make sure I add that. And to give more flavor to our bread, I've added some garlic flakes as well and a bit of salt. The salt and the sugar mix, whenever you're baking, it's a standard. Yeah. There always has to be sugar and salt in there. And I know I'm adding butter into the actual bread itself, but you've got some butter over there. What are you making?
I told you just now that I love a warm slice of bread with like butter melting into it. But I like my butter with a bit of flavour. So I've got I walked through our Afternoon Express garden and I found some parsley and basil.
Okay.
To me, you must smell it.
I love the smell of
basil. It's fresh, it's divine. So I'm just going to, while you're mixing, I'm just going to cut a bit of it. Okay. Cut it into like bigger pieces. And then all you do to make like a herb butter, add a bit of salt to your butter and just add your herbs to it. And as I say, these can't get fresher. And you just mix it through. That's butter 1.
I can't wait to try this.
Yeah.
I can't wait to try this together. So into that batter or the egg mixture that I had earlier, I added 1 cup. So I separated my flour into 1 cup, which is going to go into this activating yeast, and then I'm going to add the other 2 now. So what I'm basically doing now is I'm making the dough that's going to get this bread done. Let me just move this over here. So it always is another thing whenever you're baking, depending on the recipe, always follow whether it says add your wet ingredients to the dry or the dry to the wet. So I've just added the wet ingredients to the dry, and now I'm just folding in the rest of the flour. But now most people would be like, okay, I don't want to get my hands dirty. No. I don't feel like I'm baking if my hands are not dirty.
No,
so
sister, you have to climb in the bread if you make bread.
Exactly.
It is part of your body that has to go in. You have to work it. It's a passion. It's a love. And my mother taught me how to what is knead?
To knead, yes.
To knead like this. But these days, it's like these fancy ways. I just went down. My mom told me to go this way.
And I've always decided, I've just made this decision a while ago, that if I'm not happy and I feel I need to take some stress out on something, the best thing to do is make some bread. You get to knead it and you get to like relax your muscles and do all of that. But luckily for us, I managed to make another batch earlier on today.
And it's beautifully proofed, I see.
Yes.
For how long?
So what happened is I left my dough to proof for 2 hours. It is best, obviously, the longer you leave it, the better, because it's gonna, all those air bubbles are gonna form and all of that inside the actual dough.
Can I tell you a secret what I did?
I love secrets.
I know.
Can I tell?
I always make a whole wheat bread at home.
Oh, really?
And I put it in my little pan. But it was so cold this weekend. So I put my warm blanket on. And I put it in the bed and cover it with a duvet.
Are you for real?
Yes. And it stayed there for 2 hours in my bed. And it was perfect. No sun, but it was perfect.
Because exactly, whenever you're breaking bread, it has to be in a warm environment for that dough to actually rise and proof and so forth. So what I've done now is I've got that dough that I just made.
I love that roller.
It's perfect. If it goes missing, guys, just know where it is.
It's like heavy. It's like perfect. A heavy marble.
Yes, and it's perfect for rolling out whatever, whether it's bread or donuts. So I've rolled out our dough here, and I'm going to just add our cheese to it. This is where the cheesy element comes in. And if you can see on my side here, I've got a nice loaf tin.
That's prepped.
It's been buttered, it's been prepped for us already, and then I go in with the cheese.
And you can use any cheese. I would love to put some feta in there with a bit of spinach. Can I do that?
I'm actually coming over to your place after lockdown. You're going to be baking bread the whole day. I'm going to be coming out of your house with a whole bakery full of stuff. Because like I mentioned, I'm not a baker, but I love baked goods.
Yeah.
And this is by far one of my favorite breads to make.
Yeah.
What you could do, obviously, after you've baked your bread, this kind of bread, is add some garlic butter, like the butter that you're actually going to slather
over it.
You can actually add it onto the loaf itself while it bakes. So I then go in and I roll our dough.
I want to see how you do this.
Yeah. Oh, this is where the gentle part is required. So you've kneaded it, you've got all your stress out.
What are you going to do now with it? Can you put that just in a pan and just bake it, or...?
I would advise not, because you want to see all those specks of cheese, which is what I want. If you look at that loaf over there, the reason it's like that is because we want the cheese to be celebrated as well. So what I did is you just cut it in the center down the middle here. Let me get rid of this
completely straight through.
Completely straight through, yes. And then you just fold it over like this.
Woman, clever. That is amazing. That's why it's so beautiful.
Perfect, yes. And then obviously do the same with the rest, with the other batch as well. And then go over the top with your cheese. Bake it in the oven for 180 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. Let's say, as soon as you know the best way to tell if your bread is baked?
Tell me.
Is if you knock on it and it sounds hollow. So I heard that and I was like, yes, I got it right. Actually, you're making another butter as well.
Yeah, garlic.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I love my garlic.
Yes.
I'm going to slather it over this piece.
So I'm going to get this into the oven, and then we're going to get started with that loaf. And if you would like to get this recipe, please go on to www.afternoonexpress.co.za to get your hands on this delicious recipe.
Clover Fresh Milk is the #1 milk brand in SA, made with love by Clover.